Here we go.
Here's the thing about Madam Web. It was a movie that I went into knowing that it wasn't going to be that great, but I still saw it because I was still curious. With the cast involved and the simple fact that it is a Spider-Man related story, I am a fan of Spider-Man, I was like, you know what, let's give it a shot and maybe it could be good. And turns out I was right with my initial thoughts. This is not a great movie. It's not even a good movie either. And I would even go as far as to say that it is worse than Morbius. But as we get going, be sure to let me know your thoughts down below in the comments and hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy the rest of this video. In terms of the good of Madam Web, I think that the saving grace is the cast. They try their best with what they're given, and I give them props for that. The acclaimed spider people that we have in this movie, like Madam Web, Spider-Woman, don't expect too much of the characters that you might know and love from the comics because, yeah, you get their regular everyday life stuff. But when it comes down to their suits even, there is less than a minute of screen time in any of our leads in a suit. There's little like flash forward sequences of like stuff that's gonna happen in the future. Not in this movie, but stuff that's gonna happen in the future. And that's when you see them in their suits. That is it. It's just like a little tease as to like if this movie does make enough money and a sequel does get greenlit by Sony, then you might get it. But watching this movie, nah. I have to say, I do hate crapping on performances, but Tahar Rahim as Ezekiel Sims is just awful. I haven't seen any of his other work, I don't believe, so I can't really compare as to was this just like a fluke? Is he a particularly bad actor in most of the stuff that he's in? I don't know. I definitely don't think it helps that most of his dialogue features some baffling use of ADR. I don't know what the choice was there. Maybe in the editing process they thought that switching up the movie a little bit they needed to re-record some lines of dialogue. Whatever it was terribly done on screen. You don't see the words coming out of his mouth matching up with his lips, I'll just say that. But even without that, his line delivery in general is really rough. As you get further on, the movie is just fairly ugly. The visual effects especially are gross, and it was made to feel like this movie was like made for a cheap budget, and there wasn't much to work with in that department. Some of the sequences are terribly edited. It's at times incoherent. You can't really understand as an audience member what is even going on. Was that intentional? I don't know. There was one scene specifically on a train where Cassie is kind of just really figuring out her newfound powers. And I don't know how to describe what went on screen because I think you just have to experience it for yourself. And simply put, how the movie is put together, it's a jumbled mess. Someone like Adam Scott's character, he shows up in the movie at the beginning and then he just disappears for a huge chunk of the movie. That's because I don't feel like they really knew what to do with him in the movie. He's kind of just there to set up Peter Parker, but Peter Parker barely even gets set up. I don't know why he's a character in the movie. Let's just say he serves no purpose to the overall story except he is a friend of Cassie's. At times the movie is an origin story for Madam Web, but also a team-up movie with other spider villains and people in the universe. You can tell that this movie did go through a process of reshoots, and that shows on screen. I just don't think there was a clear vision with the final product. I do think the dialogue in general, most of it is just weird. The final minute of the movie, I was rolling my eyes, shaking my head at just some of the lines that were put in this movie. I can't get the final line of narration out of my head. It was just baffling. And it also just doesn't help that the story is boring. There are big chunks of the movie where I found myself checking the time, wondering when the movie was going to be over. I feel like this is a movie that was kind of doomed from the start. No one was really wanting a Madam Web movie per se, but Sony gave it to us and now it's here. And yeah, it could have been something that really surprised most of us, but it ended up being just a movie that is going to be forgotten in the weeks to come and will go down as one of the worst comic book movies of the 2020s, I'd say. Across the board, from its writing to its visual effects, I do feel like the actors did their best with what they were given, but it's unfortunately just a jumbled mess of a movie. One that isn't even so bad it's good, it's just so bad it's bad. Someone want to tell me why Cassie wears the same clothing every day of her life? I'm gonna give Madam Web a D, and this is a movie that you can just skip. You're definitely not missing anything if you don't see this movie. Even as a Spider-Man fan, I don't think you're gonna like it. I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and again, if you did enjoy it, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, look forward to more videos coming soon. My name is Ben, people call me Meter, and I'll see you guys in the next one.